exams, all results, the raw marks must subjected to the process of award ceremony, the process of grading.
Secretary General,
and it's done
A is a mark of excellence. You agree with me on that,
It's a mark
right?
of excellence.
Assuming Charles Odhiambo gets 35 in chemistry and he is the top candidate in the whole country, do you think that should be an A?
Let me come to that.
No, straight answer. Do you think
yes
that
or
should
no?
be an A?
Let me come to that. That will depend on the process of moderation. They will
isn't
look
that
at
the problem?
I
No,
asked
no,
a
no,
simple
no.
question.
A number of
35
things.
is the top in the country. A is a mark of excellence. Should 35 be A play?
35%.
I cannot
Yes.
answer that question, and I will refer you to the process. It has to be subjected to discussion. Why do we have? There could be reasons why the leading student is 35%. Maybe related to the setting, maybe related to many
What does
variables.
that have to
and,
do
and
with
therefore,
whether that's a mark
you
of
have
excellence?
to look at it. And you have to look at it very critically, and you have to, and the panel can decide 35 is a B.
The panel
There would be
can
no A.
decide.
Yes.
So it is not
And
your work that decides what you get. It is the panel that sits
Then
somewhere and decides.
What is an A? What is excellent? What is
More
an A?
than,
I
I
mean,
must be more than
exemplary.
50%.
Every exam and every question test an objective. And we are in what you call objective-based. We are running an objective-based curriculum. And you set a question to test all the objectives. And let us not go back into that. Let us go to our contestation, the practice, the professional practice. Because if we digress to how it can be done, that is why standards have been developed. We can design different ways
So
of
that's a
making
question
different
that,
ways of
that's a question that
evaluating
you're finding
and,
difficult
To answer.
It's a very straight question
straightforward.
asked by a lay person.
And let me tell
A
you,
is a
let
mark
me
of
tell you,
excellence.
It can
If
be
the
an A.
top candidate has 35 in chemistry, is that
can
an
be,
A?
It can be an A because you are the best. It can be an
At
A because you are the
35%.
best.
Okay.
Within, it can be A because you are the best. It could be physics, it could be in any subject, and it can be A. It can be declared.
That is why
Once it's
that is
declared,
why you are
that's it.
differing with Matiang, because
And
you could not Matiang and the examination could not get anybody getting A in English.
and if we go this particular route, let me tell you, if we go this particular route, there are implications. We will be destroying generations.
No.
And 10 years down the line, we'll
But
be
won't we
coming
be
back
raising
again.
our standards?
No, raising standards, we are in agreement.
So don't you
So
think
how do we raise those standards without setting,
we don't raise standards
benchmarks?
we don't raise standards by engaging in a ruthless destruction.
Don't you think
This
we are
is
Ruthless
destroying
destruction?
generations
Yes.
by
Ruthless
asking?
destruction in what way?
Sorry, don't you think we are destroying generations by asking a few people to sit somewhere and decide who gets A and who
Not a
gets
few
B?
people. Not
Let me ask.
chief
Let me ask
examiner
this.
is not a few people.
Let me ask you this question.
So who developed the other system?
Let me ask you this question. Very
Chief
pertinent.
examiners and examiners are not a few
Just
people.
a minute.
They are
Mutegi?
credible people
Mr.
who have
Sosion?
responsibility and authority over that subject.
Sosion.
And it's a standard
You are
practice.
A.
Please go
You are
ahead.
A. 35 being A. 35%.
I'm saying
being
it
A.
can be.
It has been A in many cases. Look at what Professor Magoha said. You have many A students, A, proper A, not minors, going to the Faculty of Medicine.
But the truth of the
Listen,
matter
let
No,
me
is,
just a
finish.
minute.
Those A's given by the previous examiners, they go to engineering or medicine. 50% of them drop out in the first year. And you say you are endangering or you are condemning students.
but that's
What
statistically.
you do to that person who goes to do study medicine or
You don't
engineering,
have the capacity.
and he has not the capacity? That you have is ruined, and you have denied people who are able to go to do the same examination.
Let us be factual. We are dealing with these exams. Let us not digress and bring in issues that requires verification. In all exams, in all universities and in all courses, if you are admitted and you cannot take up a course, this is not the first time. It has happened all along. The students drop out.
But Mr.
Those who
Sosion,
can't make
this
up
is
with the
what we are
courses.
trying
But
to
then
curb.
the
We are
issue
trying to
here-
curb that
the
A,
issue
which is
here-
not A.
the
We are
issue
trying to
here-
curb your A going to university.
So are we saying you cannot admit students in medicine because
They got 35 if they got 35%.
if for any reason the top student in chemistry was 65%? Are we saying we cannot admit?
They
The
shouldn't,
issue is
because they'll not cope.
the issue here is that the professional process was not followed.
Okay.
And let us
isn't
have
the
answers.
issue-
Let
and
us
is-
have answers.
Mr.
Let us have
Sossion.
straight answers and we move. And because it was not done, reprocess the raw marks professionally. That is going to correct the skewed results that we have.
So what
And
about
that is going to,
Mr. Sossion?
that is going to, and we're not saying add any mark to any child. We are not saying remark.
But
We are
Mr.
saying
Sossion, hold on just
there
a
was an
minute.
issue.
We need
Mr.
to reduce the
Sossion,
A's.
what about the A's, who the children who got A's without the moderation? What happens to them? What are you saying? That they don't deserve those A's? That something happened?
Here, we are not saying this 141 A's
Are not genuine.
are not genuine.
What
You
are
want-
you
you
saying?
want more.
What
want more A's.
what will happen? What will happen? They will not be affected if it is if appropriate grading systems are put in place. It's not going to affect the students. No
You
student
want
will
more
be
A's.
affected
Is that what you mean?
negatively. We are not saying we want more
Yeah,
A's.
What are you
this-
What
saying?
we are
what they
simply
say.
saying,
Do you
any
want-
grade that will come out from proper
You want-
moderation
you want-
will be
you want-
acceptable.
you want less
We
E's.
want credible results. That is a fact. We want credible
And one
results.
of the
we want credible
and one of the
results.
markers
And,
and one of the markers who's a member of your union says that, but by saying that the results are not credible, you are saying that the markers and
Are
the
not
people who were involved in this are incredible.
the markers are very credible. They did a good
You're
job.
saying that everyone who was involved in this process.
When I say when I say the final results are not credible, the final grades are not credible because of the grading system. that
There was a
used.
statement made
Yeah.
during the release of the...
The marking
o-
was done well.
Secretary.
The markers did their best
Secretary.
to do the marking.
Secretary. At
The
Shimola Tewa.
way the results were
Let him
processed.
finish. We will take a break and then
Yeah.
we'll come back to your question. This is Cheche. We're live on Citizen TV. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back to Cheche. We've been discussing the examination results and the contention over them with the NUT Secretary General, Wilson Sossion. It's been a contentious conversation we've had this morning. I'm not sure we've come to any solution, but you wanted to press
Yeah,
further.
just before we took the break, just recapping on a statement that was made at Shimolatewa during the release of the results. A statement that was made by the TSC Secretary, Nancy Macharia, and repeated by even the Minister himself. He said, teachers who do not bring out good performance, some action will have to be taken. Is that why NAT is now coming up and trying to show that these results were not good in protection of their members?
No. Fundamentally, that is not the reason. We are not scared of performance measures by the Teacher Service Commission, but we are raising a genuine professional view, and we ought to be listened to, be given answers, that we're not scared about it. Globally, the world over, we are encouraging governments and systems to shift from standardized tests and condemning children using tests. That's a philosophy we have. And we also are discouraging governments and employers to use standardized tests to gauge performance of teachers. Teaching is effective. And so this is a big philosophy about using the test to condemn learners. And let me bring you to the international issues. The OECD countries are encouraging improved access to higher levels. And if you look at some of the OECD countries, the access to universities is standing at 70%. In the US, for example, despite the existing legal framework, teachers have pushed through their unions to have a bill which was signed into law by Obama called Every Student Succeed, ESS. Our education system must facilitate learners to move to the next level. So that is what we are talking about, access. And can you come and can you imagine?
Facilitate does not mean cheating.
But yes, we are against cheating.
And I'm sure the next level is based on your ability.
Based on your ability and based on reliable results. And that is why we are all speaking the same language. The only thing that we have here is that we are confusing ourselves with little variation of divergent of views, which we appreciate as teachers. What we want to tell Kenyans and the Kenyan public is that Kenya would be good if we ensure that access to the next level is almost, or transition is almost at 100%.
That's what the
and
government is
that
doing.
is what is encouraged in the US.
That's what the government is
The
doing.
treatment
In
of
fact,
these results takes us back. The treatment of these
It is
results.
because cheating was stopped. Next
It's
year,
because
No,
that
no, no, no,
access
no,
was
that's the wrong
abused.
philosophy.
next examination,
That is the wrong
you'll see
philosophy.
the difference.
That is the wrong
because
philosophy.
students will know there will be no cheating.
And you see, if we
Mr.
are
Sossion?
if we're enhancing a messaging that looks like, oh, teachers are reacting because cheating was stopped, and because that is not right.
Okay.
Let's be very careful and move slowly and address the issues that we have
And
raised.
give time
the
for the cartels
documents.
to adjust themselves.
No.
Yes.
Let's all kill the cartels. Bring these cartels, arraign them in court. We would be very happy to see them
But
arraigned.
the point that
Because
Mutegi
these
makes,
cartels are
Mr.
shadows.
Mr. Sossion, just a
Yes.
minute.
Every primary school now is becoming a secondary school. So that transition becomes maybe, now it's about 13% which will not go to high school. The government wants to lessen that so that almost everybody who goes to primary go to secondary. The same way to universities. That's why many universities have been created, public universities. But we do not want you are 35% A to go to university.
But you cannot
we want
create-
people who are getting 50%.
Because that is not deserving.
this is not
No.
deserving.
We are not insisting that you award free marks or free grades. No. Here, there is a process that was skipped.
Okay. And
There
there
is
are
a
people,
process that was skipped. There is a process that was skipped. Can we discuss
Could it have been skipped
Was it
because
right?
it was prone to abuse?
No. You can't.
Could it have been skipped because it was part of the cheating
Kenya
cartel?
alone
cheating chain.
cannot wake up one morning and begin changing something that is practiced by all other examining
yes, it can,
bodies.
and we did,
can't allow.
because we were facing an abnormal
That one-
situation.
No. With this one, we have a firm position. Process the results properly.
Do you agree that the,
Process the results properly.
do you
Don't
agree that the
politicize.
result,
We don't
the
like
exams were done under abnormal circumstances?
The exams were done properly. That
But
one we have
under
no issue.
abnormal circumstances.
Not
No other
abnormal.
students in schools, no teachers in
That is
schools.
not abnormal.
It
That
is not the
abnormal.
normal trend. Abnormal here
The
doesn't
normal,
mean
the, no-
out
the,
of...
the normal Kenyan way.
Yes.
No.
The normal Kenyan way which used to happen.
It was done under the right conditions.
Yes.
How was that?
Not as it's
No,
normally
let me,
done.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you. The new format of doing exams, closing schools early, so that and releasing the rest of the teachers
unteachable
was not even just prescribed by the ministry. It was arrived at through a discussion between us and the ministry.
Very good.
And
So,
so
it
we've
was
done
new.
very well.
So it was new. It was a new way of doing exams.
It is not the first. I remember in 1988, I sat for my A-level exams.
Thank you very
when
much.
schools were closed.
1989 is when
1988.
KCSE
So
started,
the-
right?
the-
1
the-
year
na-
after. So what I'm asking in short, the fact that these exams were not done as they are normally done from 1989 could be a justification for the results not being the same as they have always been.
And that is
The
not a
abnormal curve.
justification for somebody to engage in drastic changes, especially a policy that needs discussion, especially a policy that needs time to implement, so that teachers, as they're teaching from Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, and we practice this in school, and we subject all subjects in the same grade.
Okay.
Once we practice that at school, we prepare teachers, we prepare learners, we prepare parents, we prepare everyone. This one, it was not done. All other changes we accepted, and we negotiated. And where we raised issues, we raised, and eventually we agreed. But this one we did not, and this one we have not. Fundamentally.
Mr.
And
Sossion?
this is where the rubber meets the road between us and the exam council and the ministry, and we must discuss.
So, Mr.
And we are
Sossion,
telling
this
the
is what
Kenyan
our-
public.
this
So
is-
nobody should brand us as cartels and whatnot.
No,
We are
no.
teachers.
Move out
Okay.
of that.
Everyone
Nobody
here,
is actually.
let's hear
Let
from
us
the
now
Kenyan public,
address.
Mr. Sossion. Let's hear
Yes.
from the Kenyan public. So the bulk of them are not with you, but there are those who see the merit in your argument. Here are a few of them. Mr. Sossion is right. Moderation is a requirement in any exam result according to performance. Let us not cheat others, even moderation across the world. It is impossible not to see that Sossion is asking valid questions. For some reason, people are refusing to see outright common sense. The 2017 KCSE results will be better, and it won't be because candidates will have improved, but because those concerned will quietly swallow their pride and do the right thing. Mr. Sossion, although I'm a tutorial fellow at the School of Medicine, we have unteachable A's at the medical school. Please refrain from protecting unteachable A's. But then, of course, the key question to resolve is, 1, is there a fixed grading system? 2, when is it established? 3, is it standard for all subjects? 4, was there a change in applying the process as it has been? NUT is a stakeholder, and the Ministry of Education should honestly respond to their questions. There should be nothing to hide. And then there are people taking issues with us and our rather robust questioning of Mr. Sossion. I expected an interview, but the panelists are grilling Sossion. Sossion, it's a pity. Clearly, the panel members are not educationists and have no grasp of the issues of examination grading. They're not listening.
I'm a former teacher.
I was just about to
I
say.
am a layman.
Yes,
I am a parent.
and they're not listening, not giving you a chance to explain. It's as if their mindset is already fixed. It's very sad that people who do not understand the marking and evaluation processes are charged with the responsibility of marking national exams and are given a chance to publicly speak about the same. Cheche, you refuse to listen and understand what Mr. Sossion is explaining. This is the same attitude that is being adopted by a greater majority of Kenyans. What a shame. So there we are.
But I would like to say we are entitled to different arguments.
Yeah.
Me, I appreciate all comments, and those who suspect that we are cartels, it's good to ask those questions so that we know some people think in that manner, so that we can answer. I appreciate your views because that represents the divergent thinking. And that's why we are in this conversation.
Those views, though, are in the minority.
Yes,
The majority of people are taking exception to your thinking. They agree with the reforms. They agree, with the results, and they want this sort of thing to continue. But there's a question that I'm seeing, repeated here, that whenever we get our results, we see grades, written in front of our report books. Each and every student had to work so as to get good marks. So is the syllabus different in schools? because exams have always been set in relation to the syllabus regardless of where you come from. That's from Dixon in Nairobi. And there was another question to say that if you're moderating grades, does that mean that the set of grades we see on our exam results are not right?
They're moderated.
If we moderate the results, those, remember the printout that says an A is 80 to 90, blah, 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 blah. You know, was that untrue?
Actually, normally at the back of the
Yes.
KC, I think it's KCP certificate.
It's a summary of the grades. And
Yes.
that is why I've said the final grade is a product of a process. It's a product of a process of marking. It is a product of
question
a
is not
process of
about the final
analysis, and even there's the word analysis. You analyze and look at the scores in terms of percentage, and then translate the percentage into grades. It's a process. So you don't just
So on the
translate.
results slip,
Yes.
will the results, will the letter grades we see be a result of the moderated grades, the analysis?
Yes.
Or will they be standardized as in?
It will be the results of the moderated grades.
So they're not standardized.
So you would say
They
that
are
in
not
the case,
standardized.
so that
You cannot standardize. It's
So,
not
so you're
possible.
saying that in the case of the excellent 35% grade, that on that result slip you would say that an A is equal to 35% to 100.
You know, this is a complicated, complicated thing, but you really, it's causing a lot of confusion. Standardized gradings, this happens in colleges and universities. Those are high levels because there you are building skills. You are preparing a journalist who really must do
Has to meet a
journalism.
certain threshold.
Yes, you are preparing an agronomist who really must meet a certain threshold. But here you are equipping with the basic knowledge to allow them to train. We are not doing these things for the sake. We are preparing a learner to move to the next level. And therefore, the subject content
And if the learner is not ready?
has to be, that is why it has to be flexible. And it has to be flexible in terms of how you moderate. So you cannot standardize and say, okay, 70 to 100% is A. Otherwise, we should demand now that put those in the certificates at NEC. And it is not applicable at this level. If it is applied, it will never work.
From a professional's perspective.
From professional perspective. And so, and this is where now we want everyone to understand. The mistake here is that a new policy of grading was introduced and everyone ambushed and applied. It has given us wrong results which are skewed. That has condemned many learners and has denied even our universities the right number of students, and has denied even the private universities the number of, because the more we transit,
But doesn't that mean
the
then that the
process-
system will self-correct, that teachers will teach better, that students will work
No, that is
harder?
ambush. That is ambush.
No,
Let
no,
me
no.
tell you, it's an instant shock that will even burn out the nerves of.
But
of-
we keep
and
complaining about our universities,
by the way,
being, having too many students. Surely this gives
what is the
everything.
quality framework
No, hold
that
on.
is in place
Surely
in the
this gives
universities?
everything time, okay, to recalibrate. Why don't you see, it from that point
We
of
cannot
view?
reduce the number of students in the universities. We can only
But
put
what
in
if they're not
place
ready for university?
quality assurance framework so
In
that
the
we have
universities.
quality teaching. Yes.
But why are we
wh-
speaking?
what we are insisting, our position as a union, very strongly, is that access and transition to university must continue to be
Is our
strengthened.
sole focus
Whereas
university?
quality of teaching and learning in the universities is a business of universities.
Is our
It
sole
must be
focus on
enhanced.
university, access to university? Aren't there other...
Even the mid-level colleges, that has to be done structurally. I told you the OECD countries transition at 70%, 60%, and the rest are taken to the mid-level colleges, so that at the end of the day, you have all the students. Then you can imagine the type of national population that such a nation will eventually get. And the Vision 2030 of Kenya is to produce the best human resource that is competitive, and we cannot do it without improving access while checking on quality. These are matters that requires debate and conversation, but let's not allow
So
one
going
section
forward-
to run the
One
moving-
minute, before you move on, Udwak, just a little concern here. The exam ordinarily, apart from last year's, normally takes about 1 month. by end of December, marking is finished.
Yeah.
From January to around April, when the results are released, is this the time that the moderation and the analysis happens? Normally?
Yes, this is the period of processing the results. But we are not saying as a union, we need that long period of time. We want results processed quickly and processed properly.
So could it be
And,
that NEC and the
let-
ministry
let me
decided to
come to
skip this because this is the area where
Let me
a
come
lot
to
of
this,
abuse
Harry.
was happening?
No, I don't think so. Once you capping, cheating, then the rest of the process can be supervised properly. Because you don't bring us a shadow of cheating and you use it as an excuse to do
Away with the
to vary
systems.
policies without even negotiating. That is not right. Look at this hurried way of doing things. Let's come back to KCPE. Some students did not get results, and they got their results when selection to schools had been done. A student has scored 400 marks, but you are getting the results when everyone else has been admitted and placement cannot be done. The rise of that one child is critical. A student has scored 1%, and in fact, there are more emerging issues that marks in composition in class 8, marks in INSHA were not used to arrive at the final grade because there was haste to release the results. So certain scores were not used. We have issues which we are still investigating, even in agriculture, that the project marks were not used. And therefore, there are many issues around this thing. That is why we are talking about audit. And I have said we have engaged in professional conversation within the teaching service. We are engaged, all of us. It's not the issue of Sosyon. It's not the issue of NAT alone. We are engaged in conversation even with our brothers in Kupet, and we are agreed. There are fundamental issues that needs addressed.
So how
and
does
that
this
is
go
why
forward?
the word called audit is good. Let us audit. What is audit? Audit is to check whether the correct things were done or the right things. And an audit report can
Moving
come
forward.
out, yes, and say, yes, this was done well. And if it was done well, and is an audit report, and it is served on us, so be it. We shall proceed. And if that audit says, no, this key step was missed, so be it. It's a professional way so that we don't engage in
What do you-
arguments and taking personal position, personal views. I will not be part of that audit. It's a credible body that will do the audit, and it will tell the ministry or TS or exam council that you shouldn't have done this, you did this right, you did this wrong. So school, that is what you want. We want an open
Who will do
thing.
the audit?
Who would
And
be
that-
best placed to do that?
Who is the best place to do the audit?
No, of course, when you talk about exams, Kenya National Exam Council is a body that is recognized internationally. And we even have bodies, examining bodies, that do this work internationally. And so we would need a credible body that
Like who?
that
But you
is-
haven't proposed
that's
one.
Like who?
international. Oh, of course, once we talk about auditing,
Who are you proposing? Who do you have in mind?
a good body can be constituted.
So you're calling
an
for an audit,
international
but you
body.
don't know who
Let-
you
let
want
me
to
ask
audit
you,
it.
Let me ask you, when we had the post-election and we had to look at how to conduct elections, who presided over? That was Krigler from South Africa. We are living in a global community. We are not living in
So
a
you're
Kenyan
saying we can
village.
set up a credible body?
Yes, and we benchmark ourselves with international standards, and we are prepared for
But
that.
in
That is why
proposing
we-
the audit, you haven't actually suggested that we go this route
You
or
go
we
to
go that
Cambridge
route.
University or you go to
You haven't made a
Makerere
suggestion as to how you want the audit to be conducted.
it is not our duty to constitute the audit team.
I'm not asking you to
and
constitute
Kenyans
it. I'm
did
asking
not
you what your proposal is.
We want a credible body that probably would be in an international credible body to look at it, and so that they tell us.
Okay, so
And,
you
and
just
if we are told as teachers this was correct, we will have no
so
question
it sounds
about
like
that.
you've just thought that through now. But going forward, though, there are those who think that even if there are problems, that any sort of audit or inquiry should happen on a case-by-case basis. What do you make of that?
This is critical. It's urgent because it's about the children of this nation, the generation that are expected to drive the economy tomorrow. And Kenya is a signatory to international commitment. And the SDG 4 is very clear on the key targets and access to education. I'm sure all of us here in Kenya would love to see a better Kenya and better citizens. And when we are talking about 85% students who cannot access
Higher
university
tertiary
education,
education.
is an issue of
Is
concern.
it university
And
education
therefore-
or just tertiary learning?
No. 85% is university. Tertiary, those who cannot access
So
tertiary.
because you're addressing yourself, it seems, predominantly to university.
Why I'm saying so, the grades, there are set minimum grades for you to proceed to the next level. For university, it is C++.
C++.
Look at the number.
15%.
Is the education system able to supply the right number? Last year, there were about 165,000 C+ and above. But this year, it reduced to
By half.
88,000. That means even the private universities will have nobody to admit. The public universities, the spaces that are available, 95,000, will not be filled. And when you look at those with grade C, C minus,
So they won't be overpopulated.
They will not be overpopulated.
Yeah.
And if
And
they're
won't
not,
that allow
that
them
is not
to-
a good
to-
thing. We are not looking for free. It's not about population. It's when vacancies are declared, it does not mean it's overpopulated. That's the right number. It will be underpopulated. 88,000 is under, because the vacancies that are available is 95,000. And we are convinced that the education system can provide that number if this process was done properly. And for diploma courses, it's grade C. And look at the number at grade C. And for TVET, it's grade D+. And I saw yesterday that there are 400,000 vacancies for this cohort of students. But look at the number at the D+. Those who cannot transit to tertiary institutions are actually standing at exactly 65%. The 33,000 E's, the 149 D minuses,
D plain and D minus.
and 92,000 D's. Those ones can't transit to any TVET institution. They will just fade into the society. And those are the criminal gangs of tomorrow. Are we prepared to prepare criminals
They'll
out
go to
of
various
this?
polytechnics.
Let us translate this to this. That is why we insist this curve is positively skewed.
Okay.
And it is a bad one.
Flip that argument.
And it has a lot of negative implications.
Flip
in
that
the
argument.
socio-economic framework
144,000
of the
are not able to proceed to any level. What about a situation where we have hundreds who proceed to the university but drop out, do not finish?
It is better when they move in and drop out. You know, you drop out because you can't manage a course, and they are not the first ones. And we are not saying it only happens in Kenya. It happens in all universities.
They will go to very
Students are admitted,
and
students are
and
admitted, and when they can't make it, they drop. And of course, nature, where they go has been a mysterious issue. It's not a new issue. We were in universities. We started my own class. We were about 40, but those who graduated were about 32. But that was way back in the 90s. So this is not a new thing. Students dropping out is not a new thing. It is the impact of standard measures, and it happens all over the world. So that should not be used as an excuse and begin condemning our system.
We have to end
We
the-
must engage
Sossion,
in sober conversation.
we have to end the
What we are
conversation.
calling condemning is those people who will go to various polytechnics.
Yeah.
We need masons, carpenters, and plumbers.
Actually, we
Okay,
have
you-
a big shortage.
They are very
Yes.
short.
So then, are you trying to suggest that somebody calibrated these results and made it very negatively skewed so
No.
that nobody can
They
gave us
can-
they
can-
gave- they gave
can
us-
was
access
abolished.
private universities? Make
Cheating
it
was
becomes
abolished.
impossible,
Cheating was
so that you force them
And we
to
got the
TVET,
appropriate results.
TVET institutions and the rest. You force them to village polytechnics.
No.
These are students who prepared themselves psychologically for certain careers, and if these results were doctored so that you force them to certain careers, then it is wrong. Fundamentally, it is wrong.
Okay, so we have to end the
educationally.
show.
Yeah.
But very quickly, you want to petition Parliament. Have you petitioned Parliament?
We've done that.
You've already done that.
We've sent
and
the
what's been
communications.
what's the response been?
Yeah, it's up to them. That Parliament is an institution of justice for the people of Kenya. And when you write to them and when you serve them with a report, they have the parliamentary processes of treating it. We are non-state actors, and so we've communicated to Parliament, and we still want to engage the Exam Council and the Ministry on these very fundamental facts.
Are you
And we still invite Kenyans to give their views.
Are you contemplating
We
going
are
to court?
prepared to be criticized. We are prepared to see the views of Kenyans, and we are prepared to engage in this discussion. It is healthy, but we are telling Kenyans, Kenya and even the education system must be run within the framework of international commitments and international standards and universal access by children, and we cannot condemn children to test and testing. We must assist children to succeed so that the nation can succeed and we achieve Vision 2030. In this manner that was done, we shall not achieve Vision 2030, because in every examination, 85% of candidature will be condemned. And then what it means is that by the year 2030, we'll have a Kenyan population of 85% zombies.
It's unfortunate that we have to end
That
with your
is-
doomsday.
that is a fact.
That's a doomsday prediction. It's
It's
unfortunate
not a
that we...
doomsday, I'm not a
we
prophet.
It's
have
actually
to,
really painting a black picture.
Yeah,
I'm not a
doomsday
prophet of
prediction
doom.
that we have
We
to
are
end
telling
on.
the
That's your
truth.
final
Yeah.
word. Panelists, your final thoughts.
I think this course is very important. Kenyans as a society must now wake up. Teachers are a majority and they are an integral part in the whole system. What we need to do is the questions they are asking need to be put through a test. Let's find answers. I was expecting him to talk about the marking. I am told from reliable sources that the markers were ambushed with a new way of marking, which could have affected the whole thing.
No,
I
he did
think
talk
there is
about that,
need
actually.
for a discourse.
Okay.
But, of course, we needed to have a shake-up for us to levelize. We needed to rock the boat.
Mutegi?
I'm sure when Matiang'i goes to the university, you'll hear similar noises being made by chancellors and vice chancellors and registrars. I think Matiang'i is doing a good job. He stopped cheating. When I was in high school, in the 60s, there is no even Alliance High School could get half the class A like it was happening previously. What those A's we are having, which you are 35% A's, we don't need them. And those who are calling condemned, I don't think they're condemned. They are the people who will be able to support us in being
With practical
with
trades.
practical training. And that's what the government is doing.
Okay, and so we'll have to end the conversation on exam results and education there. Our thanks to today's guest, Wilson Sosion, the Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Teachers. Our thanks also to our panelists, Mutegi Njau and Charles Odhiambo. Thank you for watching and engaging with us here on Cheche. My name is Udwa Kamimo. We'll see you next week.